As we've been reporting, President Trump released a new list of potential Supreme Court nominees on Wednesday. It includes several senators, veterans of the Department of Justice, and federal judges nominated throughout Mr. Trump's first term. But before any of those nominees make it to the high court, they will need to pass first through the Senate Judiciary Committee. That committee's chairperson has become increasingly powerful in recent years. Its current chair, Senator Lindsey Graham. The South Carolina Republican is one of the president's closest allies on Capitol Hill, and he's facing his own re-election challenge in November as he seeks his fourth term. Senator Lindsey Graham joins me now. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I need to lose some weight. Those photos.
You're doing fine. Let's talk about this list of potential nominees for the Supreme Court. It's vitally important, not just as an argument for re-election among the president's conservative base, but obviously whomever is confirmed has a lifetime appointment. They will decide the most challenging questions that our nation will face in the future. I'm wondering, Senator, did the president consult you as he crafted this list, and what are your reactions?
Yeah, he did. I talked to his Pat Cipollone several times, and the president. I said, the idea of putting the list out before the election, I think, is unprecedented but good. The next president can pick up to 2, 3, only God knows how many openings will come between 2020 and 2024. Mitch McConnell and myself, working with the president, we've done over 200 district court and circuit court judges and 2 Supreme Court justices. So this issue is important to a lot of voters. Putting the list out makes sense to me. I think it's a quality list. Now I would challenge Joe Biden to do the same. Let us know, the country know, who do you have in mind to pick from in terms of the Supreme Court openings if you get to be president?
Well, former Vice President Joe Biden has said that he is prizing diversity of the court as one of the considerations that he would make in appointing any future justices. Did the president discuss that issue or that concern with you at all as he and his team were coming up with this list?
Well, I think diversity is important, that the court look like America, but the bottom line is that the most important thing is a constitutional conservative judge. We've got a lot of women, people of color on the list, and so he'll have a lot to choose from. But I think the main thing that he's looking for, quite frankly, is somebody who will interpret the Constitution consistent with its wording and not make the law, but basically interpret the law. A constitutional conservative in the mold of Scalia is what he talks about, and I think that's what he has in mind above all else.
Well, I want to talk to you about another issue in the news right now. In a highly unusual move, the Justice Department recently announced that it is moving to take over the president's defense in a defamation lawsuit. President Trump is accused of sexually assaulting advice columnist E. Jean Carroll in the 1990s. Speaking as a strict constitutionalist, are you at all concerned that this could set a precedent that may blur the lines for future administrations, Republicans or Democrats?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what the legal theory they're using to defend the president. I don't know if it's, I really don't know. I just read that today, and I'll honestly have to get back with you. Yeah, I was a bit surprised, but I'm sure they have a reason for it, but I'd like to know it. And I'll get back with you because I think normally these situations you're covered by private counsel.
Recordings of phone conversations between President Trump and the journalist Bob Woodward appear to show that the president knew more about the severity of the coronavirus than he let on as early as February, but made a strategic decision to downplay it. The president says that he wanted to show leadership and confidence to the American people. Do you think, in hindsight now, with as many Americans dead and the economy so suffering from the pandemic, that this was the most prudent decision?
Well, the one thing I can tell you, and I've known Bob Woodward a long time. He's very good at what he does. And I talked to Bob in the writing of the book. Dr. Fauci, who I think is a very smart man, I trust his judgment. On February the 29th, on the Today Show, he was asked, would you go to a bowling alley or go to a movie? Would you be afraid to do either one of those things? He said no. There's no reason not to change your normal life. So that was February the 29th. So bottom line is, I think it would have I don't know why the president would have on his own shut the whole economy down if that's what Dr. Fauci thought about the nature of the virus on the 29th of February. About a week or two later, a couple of weeks later, I think more information came out of China. And that's when Dr. Birx and Fauci went to the president and say, we need to do something pretty dramatic, and he did. And so I think the two things the president did was to shut the country down basically in March, saved a lot of lives, and stopping travel from China into the United States in early January. But all I could tell your listeners here is that in February the 29th of the year in question, Dr. Fauci was saying it's okay to go to a movie and to go to a bowling alley. So
I remember that at that time there was also a lot of confusion about the efficacy of masks for people who were not.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was going back, and the Surgeon General was saying we didn't know if masks worked or not. The truth of the matter is we know more about the virus today than we did back then. And, you know, Dr. Fauci, from my point of view, I know some people on my side have been down on him. I think he's done a good job of trying to educate the country, and the president, Dr. Birx, I think they've both done a good job. And so, you know, now we know it's better to wear a mask than not to wear a mask, that we should wash our hands and social distance, and hopefully a vaccine will come through here fairly soon and we'll have a chance to get back to normal.
Well, we are all praying for that vaccine. But as you say, we know better now and should be doing better. But the president continues to hold campaign rallies in states that are seeing large numbers of COVID-19 cases. Attendants have been largely maskless, and they've not been socially distant. We've seen that at the White House, even when the president was controlling the venue and during the RNC. Doesn't this continue to send that same message, though, that he was telling Woodward back in February, that he wants to portray leadership by saying that the pandemic is not as bad and not as serious as it really is, and that we don't need to take all of these precautions? That's separate from saying we need to shut down the economy.
Yeah, so I think what the president's saying, he didn't want to go on national TV and say we're all going to die. I mean, you know, the bottom line here is back in February, the month in question, the scientists were in a different position they are now. Once the scientists told the president in March, this thing is, we need to stop the spread and flatten the curve. He did, but we can't keep the economy shut down forever. That has a downside. I want people to go back to school safely. As to the rallies, you know, people are advised to wear masks. There were a lot of Trump masks. There were a lot of people not wearing masks. And when I'm around a group of people, I try to be responsible. At the venue where the president accepted the nomination, I wore a mask sometimes I didn't. So the bottom line is that you see some people with mask and not with mask. I think the prudent thing to do is wear a mask when you're around a lot of people. That's what I would advise.
I'd like to talk a little bit about how COVID has affected your constituents there in South Carolina. Obviously, the economy has hurt your brethren there. 212,000 South Carolinians are unemployed. And Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate will take up a $500 billion relief package this week. But Democrats are calling it dead on arrival. Republicans have said that the House version is also dead. You are a powerful bridge maker. You have the ability to break through some lock jams. Do you think you can bridge this gap in any way to help get assistance to your constituents and the millions of Americans who are just flabbergasted by politics and partisanship when we are all suffering?
Yeah, I think I have an obligation to try for sure. I talked to Chris Coons tonight. He's very close to the vice president. Senator from Delaware. He's a great guy. And so what are the needs? I can tell you what I found out when I was at home for over a month, that the schools are reconfiguring the classroom to allow in-person learning safer by having smaller classes. That's cost a lot of money. The coast of South Carolina has not recovered. We have a 50% limitation on restaurants. So the hotel and the restaurant industry is still suffering. There are a lot of people still out of work, no fault of their own. The hospitals and the doctors had a run from a surge back in July. So the need is there. There are people on fixed incomes. Food prices have gone up. So a $1,200 stimulus package makes sense to me. I don't want to pay people more not to work than work. You're making about $1,000 a month on unemployment, and that's skewed the wage scale at home. But I do support an additional federal benefit on top of state benefits. It's just got to be to the point that you're not rewarding people or enticing people to not work when a job is available. Federal and local government they've taken a hit. Revenues are down. The Democrats want $900 billion. I think that's way more. That's just to bail out people who've got problems unassociated with the virus. Last time we did $150 billion, Lana, for the state and local government. I'm willing to do more, but not $900 billion. I'm willing to do something on unemployment, but it's got to be so that you don't entice people to stay out of the workforce. We're not that far apart. The Democrats are stuck on a number. The functions that need to be addressed are schools. They need money to go back safely. People in the middle, low income could use another stimulus check. Local government could need some help. And so there's needs there. And I'm hoping that evictions are going to hit pretty hard here. Here's what I think both parties are going to have to deal with. Between now and November, a lot of people, no fault of their own, are going to be evicted from their apartments and their homes. And I'd like to do something about that.